code.
Okay, we're on.
Working with the unions.
I'd like to go ahead and welcome everybody to the Tuesday, September 21st, 2021 Warrenton Board of Alderman meeting. If you would, please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The presentation of CALEA, we'll be doing that. The CALEA Awards.
That is actually, you're going to present that to.
Oh, I am, okay. New to me. I'm telling you.
Holy cow. Tell him what he says. Tell him what he's supposed to say. It's fancy, huh? It's nice seeing you again.
See you.
So, it's a CALEA Certificate of Appreciation to Nancy Katz for, I'm going to read it as I can. I don't have my glasses, I should grab it. An expression of gratitude for your contribution to the law enforcement accreditation program as an accreditation manager, July 16, 2021, which is a good, big accomplishment. People don't realize how much effort you put into it and how much headache it was.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Thank you.
Did the chief help at all?
Yes.
Be honest.
Yes.
I supervised.
Mayor, you're not finished yet. Mayor.
Another one. Who's getting that? All three?
Yeah.
As long as they don't break the camera. Right? You guys, I'm not so sure. Where you want? Okay.
You want to make it all sweet behind
Where you want to go, gentlemen? Right here?
Everybody knows what it says. Be it hereby known that the Warren Missouri Police Department, having fully demonstrated its voluntary commitment to law enforcement excellence by living up to the body of standards deemed essential to the protection, the life, health, and safety, and the rights of the citizens it serves, and having exemplified the best professional practices in the conduct of its responsibilities, is hereby, upon recommendation of the members of the commission, awarded this accreditation effective on the 16th day of July 2021, and is recognized as an accredited law enforcement agency for a period of 4 years. This is their first award.
Wow.
Good job.
That's unbelievable. Good job, Chief. Hell of a good job.
If I didn't read it, I think our attorney would probably give me looks.
I am a-
Chief's proud, I think our attorney's even more.
I am a CALEA honk.
So there again, we've said it numerous times, it's quite an undertaking, and I think, like we've talked about before, I think we're one of the first smaller agencies to ever receive that. So that's a huge deal. I know some people don't understand it. Instead of sitting here explaining, I'm going to tell you, make an appointment with the chief or the lieutenant. Let them explain to you themselves, or come take part when we start it back up, the Citizens Academy, because I know a lot of people really appreciated when that was started and they understood a lot of more things. I just actually made contact with a guy who was through the first class and said he still remembers a lot of the things that were going on and appreciates everything, and now he understands things better when they're on TV. So I think that's a great thing for our public. Next thing will be the consent agenda.
We have the regular meeting minutes from September 7th, 2021. The salt bid awarded to Oakley St. Louis for unit cost of $72.75 a ton, the low bid. The fire extinguisher maintenance bid awarded to Hood Technologies Fire Safety, they were the only bid. and printing of city forms bid awarded to American Solutions for Business. They were the low bid.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Quarter,
Yes.
Alderman Cullum,
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Next will be public comments. Anybody who wishes to make any comments on any topics, please come to the podium. State the topic you'd like to talk about and state your name, and we'll give you 5 minutes to speak. Not seeing anybody, we'll move to Chapter 405, the zoning code changes, ADM-118. Is there anybody who would like to, you want to come forward and present something?
What, doing?
No, it's just a public comments on it. Anyone? All right, we'll move on to the next one. Board of Alderman comments?
I just want to remind everyone about the Fall Festival this weekend. I'll be there. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else, and I'm sure it'll be a big crowd, 'cause I'm sure everybody's ready to get out and have some fun. So,
I'd just like to say, I hate that I'm going to miss it this year. Going to be on a trip, unfortunately. The other thing I'd like to say is that in the last couple of months, I've had to attend a couple of funerals today. Elaine Wolf, longtime Warrington resident, and I just want to say how proud I am to live in a community that we have so many of our fellow community folks that will stop and show their respects as the funeral goes by. So just wanted to say how happy and how proud I am to be a part of this community still.
Else? So to add to Alderman Crump's comments, I will say there's been a little bit of a debate on social media. Not that we should let our world revolve around social media, but folks, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't, let's not critique each other on who does and who doesn't. If you don't want to come because of that, then don't come. Nobody's forcing anyone to do anything, but we are going to have the Fall Festival. I think that is something that the businesses of downtown and a lot of people in town like to enjoy, to tell their friends to come see. They enjoy getting out. I think after a year or so, or maybe even more, depending upon your feelings of being cooped up inside, it's great to be able to get outside. It's great to be able to breathe a little fresh air, and I think forgive me for my religious reference here, but the good Lord blessed us with a nice weekend, it looks like, because I think it's supposed to be a high of 70-something degrees with a low of 40-something degrees, which I'm okay with long sleeve shirts out there. Be kind of nice to get a little fall weather. But, as far as debate back and forth, I get it. I get up both sides, but we're going to continue to have it, and I'm pretty happy to have it. I really don't have any other comments besides that, except for I agree with you, but I'll expand, Mr. Quarter, or Alderman Quarter, I'll expand it a little bit. I participated in the procession for Lance Corporal Schmitz the other day, and I'm going to tell you I was reinstilled a little bit more faith in humanity and people's understanding of what sacrifices our military makes. Quite humbling. I'm not going to lie that I probably teared up about 2 or 3 times on the way down, just seeing some of the kids out to the side and the adults that stopped what they were doing just to pay respects on the way down. And as far as I knew, there was no complaints that were given for how much they shut down and when the time frame they shut it down in, which I appreciate. But very humbling, and you're right, Alderman Quarter. Our people and our citizens seem to pay a lot of respect towards people that have passed in this area, and I know our PD does as well, and I appreciate what they do. So, move on to the next item, be the cater liquor license for Fall Festival for, is it Barley and Vine and Warren County Fair Association? Anybody have any questions on those? I'll entertain a motion to approve the caterer liquor license for the Fall Festival for Barley and Vine and Warren County Fair Association.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Cullum, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Next item be a road closure for homecoming parade on October 3rd. Is there any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion to approve the road closure for the homecoming parade on October 3rd. Is there anybody who wants to tell us exactly what those roads are? Or would you like to come forward and speak?
Sure.
I was just going to get you passed without speaking. Come on up. Just state your name if you would.
My name is Amy Rogowski. I am one of the student council sponsors from high school. We're going to stage on East Walton. The parade is going to turn onto Morgan, go down Main Street through 47 to Truesdale, so we'll need 47 closed, right onto Pinckney, and then we are going to end at the high school. And we figured the road closed to 3:30 to allow for us to clean up as we're going behind all of the high school kids.
I don't see any issues. Anybody else have any questions on that?
Come out, it'll be a fun time on a Sunday afternoon. Bring your family.
What time does it start?
It starts at 2, so the staging will start at 1, and the parade will start at 2, and we anticipate it to go till about 3, and at the high school. Got a week full of activities.
I hope you have a good turnout.
Oh, me too.
At first, I didn't think the fair had a good turnout until I actually drove up the street and then realized I was just down at the thin part. It was pretty populated up towards Main Street or 47, so it was quite nice to see.
No questions?
No,
Okay.
I think you're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the road closure for the homecoming parade on October 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, second by Alderman Crump. Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. So next item will be the discussion topic of the city administrator power to appoint and discharge. Yes. Go ahead.
I brought this up in the past. It used to be, I believe, the board and the mayor would have the final vote. The city administrator would make recommendations, I believe. Personally, I just think we need to go back to that. I think that it should be the elected officials who have the final say and who gets what position. That's my thoughts. If anybody had any comments or questions or disagrees with that, or...
I'm okay with it. If I can, I'll provide a little historical context for the board that may be helpful. So, under the state statutes, when we wrote the city administrator ordinance, there is the ability for the mayor to retain and the board to retain certain powers and also to assign it to the city administrator. So this was something at that time that was discussed with the board and said, okay, what do you guys want to be responsible, what do you don't want to be responsible for? And there was some debate that went back and forth. It's very easily changeable. I don't know, do you want to change all the positions? For example, like the only reason we have listed the animal control officer is because they're separately defined in the ordinance. That would typically be somebody that would be hired probably by the chief of police, but that's why it got included, because of the city administrator statute requires appointed officers to be listed that are appointed by the city administrator. So we can change, and some of them were retained by the mayor, for example, the city attorney, the municipal judge, the municipal prosecutor, some of them were put into this category. It's a very easy one to kind of modify. The only thing I would say is, like, for example, the director of operations is really kind of the administrative or assistant to the city administrator. Do you want to make that decision or leave that decision to them? It really is, which ones do you want to pull back and take to the standard appointment? Because then we'll just put that in the mayor's authority, where it says it'll be an appointment by the mayor with the approval of the city or the board of aldermen.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would think the animal control officer, she would still be, or whoever does it now would be okay, but I I don't know, personally, even the director of operations, I mean, we're going to go off her recommendations most likely, or whoever the administrator is, so, I don't know, what you guys think?
There is kind of a third lane here, just throwing this out, where you could also, on these defined ones, or none of them, or, any of them, we could write in there, upon recommendation by the city administrator, the board or the mayor shall make an appointment and approve, or what? You can define it any way.
So, just out of a recommendation, because I know you brought this up, and I know we discussed it before as well, would it help to see what other cities are doing and how they are affording the same situations?
We looked at other cities, it's pretty much all over the board. Some retain some. I remember when we looked at this for other cities, because we were hoping there was like a standard, because it was like, we just included every officer that is listed in the code, because they're appointed officers. They're not technically employees, they're appointed officers. We listed everybody that was in the code to make sure they were all included. Obviously, the one that I know that was a lot of debate for the board, because nobody really, the city administrator at the time didn't really want the responsibility, was chief of police. That's one that traditionally in most cities is not done by the city administrator. Some cities do, some cities don't. That's an easy one to pull out. We can pull them all out, and then you can put some back in, just a little guidance on what you want. The structure is very easy. The ordinance is very easy to amend. That's just what the board wanted at that time. If you guys want to change it, it's easy. There's 2 sections of code we got to change.
So what are we looking, Stephen, or Alderman, what are you looking to remove from here? What were your question, I guess I missed that. Or change within the...
Yeah, so the way it was before, I guess, is what I was, but I'm totally okay with, taking out the animal control officer. I just feel that, like the city attorney mentioned, the chief of police, to me, the building commissioner, even the director of operations, city clerk, finance officer, those should still be voted on by the board after we reviewed recommendations. I don't think the code enforcement officer or animal control officer, I think that's something that the city administrator could still do.
I would say those are probably the 2 that were most employee defined, as you pointed out, Alderman Cullum, that would be, pretty easy to remove out, and we can bring an amended ordinance back to you guys if those are the 2 you want to leave under the city administrator.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't have a problem with voting on the discharge or the power to appoint any of that. If we take that out, I know before we had to have 3 of us on an employment board, and we had to vote on every time somebody got suspended and stuff. We're not talking about going that in depth, right?
Like a disciplinary board?
No, that's correct. I think the one of the reasons we did change it was there's always a delay where we need somebody now. And I think that's part of the logic was, obviously that doesn't necessarily apply to the chief of police, but we find somebody that is, to fill the city clerk position is, you want to hire her on 2 weeks, Wednesday, you hire her tomorrow, then you got to wait 2 weeks before you can officially hire that person unless you have a special meeting. Probably not a huge deal. That happened a lot with police officers. The city administrator eliminated that requirement because now they do the hiring, firing of employees, not officers. It's really what you guys want.
Yeah, I don't mind removing most of those heads of office to be a board decision of 6 separate people, as long as we're not going back to where we're
not going back to the
city.
personnel
That's
board
why
with
we're-
the interview.
That's why we got rid of it in the first place. That's the...
I think the only time I remember having to meet about that was on issues that pertain to a loss of finances to someone for like a suspension, for disciplinary issues. I think we only met one time for that, or for a firing. If it was something that needed to be immediate, that power was there. We still got explained to why it happened, but we also reviewed something that if it was able to be reviewed and wait.
Yeah, we couldn't, I think our code said you can't put them on suspension. I know what you guys Alderman Deloy and Alderman Schultz and Mayor, what you're talking about now is, we'll have to look at that. Well, that's one of the things we can look at it when we draft it. Maybe we need to expand the city's administrator's power to suspend so we can get it up to a period of time, so we can get to that 2-week period. Because that's, you are right, that's what the problem was. We had to take every demotion and termination to the board. That was the problem.
It's been a while, because it was right when I first got into office, but I can tell you, if I remember right, it was anything that had a monetary loss had to be reviewed, and the board had to.
The suspension without pay.
Right, if it was a suspension with pay, there's no
hours.
monetary loss. It could have been conducted and done under certain circumstances without our approval.
So we can look at that if you guys are good with adjusting that to make sure it can coincide with your meeting schedule. That's pretty easy.
Fair enough? Yeah. And then if those changes are there, since there's not anyone contesting it, that'll have to be presented in a bill and an ordinance for amendment, okay? Just so that people don't question what we're talking about and that we're just jumping on it without a vote.
Sorry.
No, you're good, you're good. Anything else you'd like to add or talk about? Anyone else? That was a pretty easy discussion topic. Flowed pretty good. Next, we'll hear from City Administrator Brandy Walters.
The first thing I have for you tonight is the public hearing policy that I sent out to you. You had requested to change that so that the applicant would be able to talk to you during public comments during that. When it got to the agenda, if you had questions, you would be able to talk to them. So that's been added to the policy. I just needed approval for that since it was approved through you guys the first time. I wanted to get an approval for the change.
Does anybody have any questions on how it's revised? Just so everybody knows, we tried different ways. It just gets kind of muddied when we can't go back and ask, and it gets frustrating not only for the person applying who may want to be able to explain something since further things have come up, but it also gets frustrating for the board not to be able to ask certain questions and get an answer. So I just think that's an easier way, and there again, as always, if it doesn't work, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll amend it again. I mean, this is something that needs to be fluid till we find the right thing that fits for our city. And sometimes we steal that from other cities, sometimes we come up with our own, but we got to find the one that fits for us. So I shouldn't use the word steal. We borrow and never return. So I will entertain a motion to approve the revised public hearing comments policy.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Crump, second by Alderman Quarter. Roll call vote.
Alderman Quarter.
Yes.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
The next thing I have for you is, I was going to talk about Fall Festival tonight. It is Saturday. Main Street will be closed. Starts at noon, and the last band will go off at 9:30, and after that, there will be fireworks. So that's this Saturday. I wanted to let you also know that openings have dropped tremendously. We had about 15 openings a few months ago, and we are now down to 3.
Wow.
3 plus 1 recruit. So that's huge for us. And then we also have a work session on October 12th at 5 p.m.
What openings are there still?
Currently, we have 2 of them in Public Works, and we have 1 police officer and 1 police recruit.
Fair job. Alderman Crump?
Nope, I'm happy.
Making sure, just making sure. We can put you in, we
Just
got,
keep my options open, though.
you got to trim that beard down, we can put you in the academy. Well, you didn't have to bring that up.
And that's all I have for you.
All right, thank you. So next, we Director of Operations John Struckoff. Is he going to be by Zoom?
He's on Zoom.
Okay, excellent. Maybe?
Doesn't even look like he's there.
You're muted, John. There
Here he
you go.
comes.
Going once?
Hello, good evening. The only thing I have for you tonight is the monthly admin report. Again, Brandy kind of took the fire there. It was our hiring. We've been doing a lot of interviews and hiring, so that was the big highlight this past month. So, is there any questions?
I don't believe I have any.
Spend that raise we gave him.
Anyone else? Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Director of Planning and Development, Tim Burks.
Afternoon, Mayor, board members. Tonight we have the text amendment zoning code change, AMD 118. A work session was recently held to discuss development standards within several of the residential districts as detailed in Chapter 405. Zoning regulations of the Warren City Code. Below is a summary of the changes proposed for the text amendment in the agricultural district, R1 low density residential district, R2 medium density single family residential, and R3 high density residential district. The items are going to be the lot size, increased to a minimum lot size in the residential district R2. Setbacks, minor adjustments in setbacks in several districts as discussed at the workshop. Removing single-family dwelling as permitted use in R3 district, and increasing the floor area in R1, R2, and R3 district. I'll highlight the changes in each district. In the agricultural reserve, the side yard minimum went from 10 feet to 15 feet. In R1, the floor area for single dwelling went from 1,000 square feet to 1,200. The side yard changed to 12 feet. In R2, the single family square foot on the lot went from 8,400 to 10,000. And the floor area of the dwelling went from 1,000 square feet to 1,200. And also the side setback in R2 went to 10 feet. In R3, we removed the single family residence from that district. The front yard went from 20 feet to 30. Side yard went from 5 feet to 7, and the rear yard went from 20 to 25 feet. Okay. There's also language that was included to that would take care of each district, address the development in an area from the existing prior to these changes. Thank you. This was presented to the Planning and Zoning Board on September 2nd. The motion passed 6-0 with 2 absent and 2 vacancies. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Thank you.
This will be a bill later on the agenda. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the Aquatics Director. No?
It'll be me.
Okay.
Sorry.
The Aquatics Director, Brandy Walters. Go ahead.
She has a lifeguard shortage tonight, so she's lifeguarding. So you have the Aquatic Center, the monthly report in front of you. Some highlights from August is they trained and hired 4 new lifeguards. The
Excellent.
Indoor pool was drained, cleaned, and reopened. On October 9th will be the pool's 3rd birthday party. There'll be free admission from noon to 3, and they'll offer discounts for first-time memberships. And then she wanted everybody to know that we mailed out about 5,000 postcards this year, or this summer, and over 500 of those have come back through the doors to use their free day, their free day pass. So.
I believe, speaking to both Lisa and Brad, it's acid wash, is that correct? The acid wash actually went very smoothly this year compared to last year and was actually done before they planned.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it went really quick.
I'm really glad to hear that. At least maybe we're getting it down and it'll go smooth every year. That'd be really nice. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next, we'll hear from Building Commissioner Mike Cross.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. You have my monthly report.
Been seeing you drive around a lot more.
Yeah, there's a little activity in someone's neighborhood that hasn't been there in a while.
I'm just glad to see their activity being everywhere. It's kind of
Yes.
nice. Any questions? All right, thank you.
To add a couple things here that
Sure.
you guys might not be aware of, that we've had 8 different builders in the city this year building homes, which is the first time in a very long time we've had that many. The apartment complex over on the North Service Road is coming along quite nicely. The storage area on AA is getting all the concrete in the ground, and they're getting ready to start putting steel up. So we've got a few things going on. Residential inspections are still staying at a standard, so
Excellent.
staying pretty busy.
Like hearing that. Any questions on that? Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Next, we'll hear from the newly accredited Chief of Police, Larry Ellard.
Thank you. The only item I have for you tonight is my monthly report. And while you're perusing that, if I could remind everyone, if they could refrain from parking on Main Street Friday night into Saturday morning, since the roads are going to be closed early Saturday morning for vendors to be set up.
That time of year that it always becomes a little aggravating to
We get
try
through
and
it every
find
year.
people's numbers and
Right.
addresses to contact and say, please move it, and then they don't live there or the phone's disconnected. It's always fun.
Hopefully the one that parks on Main Street's got its number on the side of the vehicle. You can get a hold of them.
What? Any questions on the monthly report? Thank you, Chief. All right, bills to ordinance. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 65-21.
So moved. Second.
Who'd you give for second? Oh, I got to pick, huh? We'll go with motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Corder.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 405, Appendix A to Chapter 405 and Section 410.080 of the Municipal Code regarding zoning for AG, agricultural reserve, and residential areas.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 65-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Cullum, seconded by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 405, Appendix A to Chapter 405 and Section 410.080 of the Municipal Code regarding zoning for AG, agricultural reserve, and residential areas.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Corder.
Yes. Bill passes 6-0. I'll entertain a motion to close the regular Board of Alderman meeting and go into executive session for real estate.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made by Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Corder. Roll call vote.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Corder.
Yes.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
That's a 6-0 approval, and we are so adjourned.